If you're watching this, you're probably into a hobby, and hobbyists tend to put things in nice, neat containers so everyone knows where they stand in their corner of their own little world. There are a lot of different genres of music, for example, and the same goes for film, as well as books. Board games are no different, forgetting the whole Euro versus Ameritrash thing. For example, this is a deck building game, and a classic one, so no argument there. This is a card game where you build a deck, but it's not a deck building game, it's a collectible card game. This is a card game that is collectible, but it's not a collectible card game, it's a living card game. It can get confusing. What isn't confusing and requires no argument is that this is a board game, and in my opinion, it's the best one. You'll also have a very hard time convincing me that this is not a video game, and once again, in my opinion, the best one. This right here is a video game, but it's based on a board game. This is a board game based on a video game. Then there are those that fall right in the middle, those that are video games that work mainly from board game mechanisms, but don't exist in the physical world. I'm Rob for JestaThaRogue.com, and these are my top 10 digital board games that aren't real board games. But first, some rules. I'm staying away from party style games, so no games like Jackbox, as good as Quiplash is. No free to play games, sorry Hearthstone fans, but if I'd went down that rabbit hole, this video would have been a full-time job. And as with all this, it's at time of writing, so if a physical game doesn't exist as I read this, it still doesn't count, okay? So why not physically click on my digital subscribe button for more physical board game related digital videos, including digital how to play videos of physical board games. Yeah, that makes sense. Number 10, Tharsis, choice provisions. No matter the entertainment medium, when Mars is involved, things usually go bad. Just try and read the rulebook for First Martians. In Tharsis, you're on the way to investigating a mysterious signal on Mars, so it's hardly surprising your ship is damaged by micrometeoroids. Pick your crew, each with their own role, special ability, and not at all creepy face, and make them, stop the ship from blowing up by repairing the damaged pods. These pods have their own functions, such as the medical bay for medicine, maintenance repairs, the usual stuff. Repairing and activating the ability of that pod are done via dice placement. A crew member rolls any of the dice they have and they are assigned to the spaces in that pod. You have re-rolls and things to mitigate the luck here, but there are situations where dice can be frozen out, lost permanently, or even damage the crew member if certain numbers are rolled, so care and a bit of luck are both needed. Once all of the crew have done a thing, the damage that hasn't been repaired triggers, damaging the hull of the ship. Then you have a side project, which basically makes you choose between two options, meaning you'll hurt the feelings and maybe the body of half of the crew. Both choices give you a positive and negative effect, so do what you need to get by. Then you need to feed your crew with the food you have collected from the greenhouse to replenish the dice they roll in the next round. If you don't have enough food, you can eat your previously deceased crew members, which puts a gruesome bloody effect on the dice when rolled. Survive to win, or don't, and watch your ship fall apart. It's a decent dice placement, pandemic-like game which, despite the tiny text when playing on a Nintendo Switch handheld, is a pretty good game. It's only rated 58 on Metacritic, with many of the reviews down on how luck-based the game is due to the dice. That's video game journalist for you. Number 9, Antihero, Tim Conkling. It's you versus the computer in a battle to score the required point total first, where points are burglary, manipulation, and murder. You control your master thief, moving around the city, revealing fogged areas and burgling houses for gold. There are two resources. The first is that gold, which is used to buy weird and wacky characters to assist you in completing your goals. The other resource in the game are lanterns that can be earned by infiltrating trading houses with urchins, which are the first of the units you can buy. Lanterns can be used to unlock new abilities and to buy upgrades in skullduggery, sneakery and stabbery, increasing your master thief ability as well as upgrading your other units. Thugs are defensive brutes that you can use to block your opponent's movement, and gangs are offensive, mostly used to damage thugs, other gangs and high profile targets. You score points by assassinating said high profile targets, sending urchins to infiltrate certain buildings, and by other means, and the first to hit their points target wins, you or the CPU. There's a nice campaign that doubles as a tutorial, with more of the game to discover as you play. The hidden movement thing could be tricky IRL, but the resource management, movement, skill trees etc. are all possible in a physical game. Rated 81 on Metacritic, with CG Magazine saying, a charming board game strategy game that doesn't go quite as far as it should have. Wow, some harsh critics in the video game world. Number 8, for the king, Iron Oak Games. Time for something a little more hexy. Choose and customise your clan of 3 members, choose an adventure, and off you go. Explore the large grid map and interact with people and places trying to achieve goals while levelling up and acquiring new equipment. The main mechanism that controls the game is a kind of casting system. Imagine flipping several coins and each head is a success. The more successes, the better the attack, action, or in desperate times, a successful get the hell out of there. The coin metaphor isn't precise as there are these golden critical hits you can get, but on the whole it holds up. I mean, was it even a metaphor? I shouldn't use words I don't understand. Anyway, characters have focus, allowing them to get automatic successes, but you only have so much of this, and although it can be replenished, you should use it wisely. Move on to a space with an enemy and you start a fight. Everything, friend and foe in the local area, is dragged in, so while you can split the party, try and keep them close by so they can help. There is a timeline that elapses as you take turns and the chaos track that also rises. If you can lower the chaos track by completing main quests or destroying chaos generators, fewer bad events will happen to you, which is nice. If you find a dungeon, you go underground and fight room after room of monsters with the odd stop to unlock chests and gain rewards. I really enjoy this game. It reminds me a lot of the older Runebound and the more recent Destinies as a fantasy explosion game where things appear and vanish as the story progresses. It's good fun. Rated 79 on Metacritic with IGN Spain saying, a great RPG with many hours of content to enjoy and a high difficulty level, but technically a little simple. Ooh. Number 7, Iris and the Giant, Lewis Rignaud.
Today my father is driving me to my swimming lesson. He's speaking to me, but I'm not answering.
This game has themes of sadness, anxiety and depression. In Iris and the Giant, you play inside the mind of Iris, fighting her inner demons. The demons line up in rows and you use cards, which are weapons, to attack. Bows hit any visible demon. Swords hit only one of the front demons, but you can play as many of them as you have. Axes swing wildly and hit each of the demons on the front row. Surviving demons on the front row then attack back with whatever they're holding, and visible ranged demons will also attack from the back. Then they all move up a row. As well as demons, there are chests and other things to pick up, including gems, which is a currency you can spend on new cards when you find enough. Somewhere on the level there's a staircase, and if you can get it to the front of the level, you can go up it to the next fight. So the balance here is, do you fight as many demons as you can and possibly lose health, which is measured by your will, or do you quickly uncover the staircase and move on to the next level ASAP, missing out on bonuses but surviving and moving forward. Gaining cards by collecting them and spending as few as possible during a level has another bonus. If your deck runs out, you lose. This is something else to consider when thinking about pushing forward to kill more demons, or just run for the exit. You can collect stars that let you upgrade abilities, represented by you asserting your personality with attributes such as resistance and imagination. It's a nice puzzle with a sad story, and I hope to see the end one day. Rated 77 on Metacritic with CD Action calling it a feast for the eyes and ears. I have to agree there. Number 6, Roguebook, Abracum Entertainment. The newest release on this list, designed by Richard Garfield of Magic the Gathering and Bunny Kingdom fame. You're here to explore and I think defeat a book you find in the back of a magic shop. Not 100% sure, but you start in a hex grid map and you control the character, Shara Dragon Slayer, in a little starting area allowing you to pick a companion for this adventure, and you can also level up with some abilities with Nadim, a little helper. I want to say owl? Cat? No idea. Then your squad ventures through a very slow opening gate and the game begins for real. You click through the hexes to explore the map, and the cool thing here is that as you're in a book, you need ink to create paths and brushes to reveal unexplored spaces all around you. There are vaults that let you get more cards, hearts that heal health, runes that let you reveal hidden items, and towers that reveal nearby spaces like Assassin's Creed, plus loads more stuff. This is half the game. The other half of the game is of course fighting, which triggers when you walk onto a battle space. If you played other games coming up on this list, combat here will be very familiar, but with a twist. You have a deck of cards that is a combination of your main character and your other character you choose. The enemy actions they intend to do on their turn are above their head, and you have 3 energy to play cards from your hand of 5. These attack the enemy and add defense to block any upcoming enemy damage, as well as other abilities, but certain cards will switch which of your characters is in front. This is important as when the enemy attacks, they attack the character at the front, so keep the vulnerable one at the back. If one of your characters dies, a couple of things happen. Firstly, you get a bunch of zero-cost song cards. If you play enough of them, they come back to life with partial health. Secondly, a couple of wounds are added to your deck for the rest of the run, which are unplayable and annoying. The run continues through, I guess, several levels before you win. I think, no idea, I haven't got that far yet. As I said, this game is new. It's a fun game, but so similar to other games, and while exploration is fun, it slows the pace down, so I rank it lower than them. Rated 79 on Metacritic with PC Gamer saying, stands out from the pack on a few qualities, but it's not a must play. No game is PC Gamer. No game is. Number 5, Popup Dungeon, Triple B titles.
I'm made of 100% recycled materials.
Choose a party from a wide range of paper characters in 5 different classes. Select an adventure and begin. You're crawling along a literal tabletop, reading story, selecting dialogue options from disembodied paper heads on ice lolly sticks, and eventually getting into a bit of a scrap. You move your adorable folded paper characters around a cardboard dungeon, destroying anything and collecting coins and treasures. When you move into an area with enemies, an encounter starts and the enemies spawn as cardboard standees that are only coloured on one side, which is a really nice touch. Combat works with your heroes having a number of action points that are used to both move and play cards from your hand. It's not a deck of cards, just a handful of cards you upgrade and switch about as you gain new cards through the campaign. New equipment can also add cards with relevant abilities into your hand. Speaking of which, winning an encounter and completing a dungeon will give you new equipment, and when you hover over it, the hero that needs it the most will let you know, saving time on inventory management, which is something I really appreciate. They even shout up if they want something you unequip from someone else. It's a very fun game, and mixing the party with different characters gives you lots of replayability. It's easier to play and, in my opinion, a much better and more fun game than Gloomhaven, which I also have on Steam and play occasionally. Rated 73 on Metacritic, with GameSpace saying, I do recommend Popup Dungeon, especially if you like to create content and especially if you like cheesy humour and gamer references. Yes, the cheesy humour is well worth a mention.
Bet you can't say your password backwards.
Number 4, Guild of Dungeoneering, Gambrinus.
This is the Guild of Dungeoneering, on a quest we're never veering, all to be a Dungeoneer, swimming in pools of gold.
You start the game by actually building your guild, starting with the barracks, which begins the recruitment process.
The one that's always left behind, the solitary lump, the pawn who's fodder for the grind, the sorry little chump.
Then you go exploring to a dungeon, picking one of the recruits to go adventure. Exploring a dungeon is done via 2 decks of cards. The first deck makes you place rooms to build the dungeon out, as well as add monsters and treasures to the room. You have to play 3 cards out of your hand, so you end up having to put monsters in rooms, which sucks. When you move on to a monster, the combat starts, and this is done through a second deck of cards. These are your adventurer's abilities, as well as cards gained from anything they have equipped. It's a simple system. The monster will play a card to show you how much damage it will deal, what type of damage it is, and how much damage it can block, as well as any other abilities that card allows. With this knowledge, you can pick a card from your hand and try and block the damage if possible, and deal damage back yourself. The baddie always attacks first too. Victories give you a choice of humorous equipment that will add cards to your deck. Some better than others, it depends what the equipment does. Die and you get another song. Complete the dungeon and you get another, more upbeat song.
Do you have any decency, I wonder? Like the Ivory League of Explorers. Instead you pillage and plunder and rip everything asunder. You're just a reckless bunch of marauders.
You can buy upgrades to your guild and earn gold, which allows you to buy new types of adventurers, magicians, mimes and such and such. It's a really fun game with great humour, a simple combat system, and yes, those songs are really fun. Rated 72 on Metacritic, with GameCrate saying, Guild of Dungeoneering can get frustrating due to all the randomness, but even then there's no getting around the fact that it is a wonderful game. And it is. Number 3, Dicey Dungeons, Terry Kavanagh. This is a game show style game, like Running Man but cuter.
I'll be back. You've been back enough.
You play as a die character of one of the various classes, each with unique abilities and very different playstyles, completing in a dungeon crawl for whatever prize they ask for. You move around the dungeon, collecting chests, visiting markets to buy new equipment, and if you move on to a baddie, you have a little fight. This is done with dice placement onto different cards that need different values to activate. They deal damage, buff and debuff, give you defense, reroll dice, change values, etc. A load of stuff. Some need a certain number, some have a minimum or maximum number requirement, some have a larger number you tick down over several rounds by assigning dice to it. Some abilities can mess with your dice, with blindness being extra frustrating because your dice are right there to use but you don't know what their value is. Enemies seem to attack following a certain pattern depending on their role, so this could be made into a physical real life game with a little work. Win the fight and you keep going further, delving deeper, improving and upgrading your inventory until you hopefully overcome the boss at the end of the level. As your equipment is on cards and you only have so much space in your inventory, you have to rearrange your equipment as you gain new stuff to make it all fit. But it means leaving some useful stuff out of play. I really like this game. The characters are very different with their own unique playstyle. Each successful run will up the difficulty, so it's always a challenge. Although the equipment cards look like a prototype made on MS Paint they forgot to update. Rated 80 on Metacritic, with PC gamers saying endearing, compulsive and just weird enough to want to keep exploring. Number 2, Slay the Spire, Megacrit Games. The classic deck building roguelike. Choose a character and get ready to run the spire all the way to the top, baby! You move up a path, weaving your way through to a boss. Campfires allow you to recover health or upgrade cards, chests have random rewards, and question marks have a random things, maybe even a fight if you're unlucky. There are 2 types of fight, regular and elite, with elites being tougher but having much better rewards. Combat is the same as Roguebook, despite it coming out 2 years earlier. I'm not suggesting anything, I don't know if there's any connection, but it's basically a clone. In Slay the Spire, you only have one character to worry about, making it less tactical but smoother and quicker to play. You have potions you can use to give various buffs and debuffs, as well as relics that give you a permanent ability for the rest of the run. You get to pick one at the start too, which can really change up how you play on top of the characters you choose having different playstyles. So you run through the 3 levels of the Spire, with damage persisting until you beat the big boss at the end of a level when you recover. Get to the end of the 3rd level to win. It is a very good game. I already talked about Roguebook, which is its clunkier, slower, almost identical but prettier cousin. This one looks to be a physical game in the future, so it'll be interesting to see how they do it. Rated 89 on Metacritic, with Game Revolution saying, Slay the Spire is one of the most satisfying games I've played in recent memory. That's not very revolutionary, is it, Game Revolution? Number 1, Monster Train. Shiny Shoe. You're on a train to hell. Keep it moving to get there by protecting the pyre that is making the thing move forward. You pick a primary clan and an allied clan, each with their own unique cards and abilities. Your primary clan gives you a champion which is very powerful, costs 0 and is always in your starting hand. So you have a train with 3 floors and a pyre at the top level. Enemies spawn on the first floor and move up one at a time if they survive your attack. When they get to the top, they attack the pyre, which can itself attack back. But you want it to survive, so you don't want them up there at all. To stop them, you play cards using energy. Monsters go into the train levels while spells are used to buff, debuff, heal, yada yada. It's a card game, we've been through this. Then from the top floor down, the enemy units each attack once. Then your units attack back once, and any enemy that survives moves up a floor. Your units stay where they are. New enemy units come in on the ground floor and you get a new hand of cards. After a few waves, a boss will arrive. They will battle back and forth until either they are defeated or all of your monsters on that level are dead. If they survive, they move up a level, freezing out the level below it. If you defeat them, well done you. In between fights you get to buy or upgrade cards, remove cards from your deck, gain money, repair the pyre, etc. But these choices are split between 2 tracks, so you can't do everything. It's sometimes a very tough choice. Every 3rd round is a big boss that hovers around outside the train, all fight, causing mischief, but if you beat them you get to choose from drawing an extra card every turn, gaining an extra energy every turn, or increasing train capacity permanently by 1 space. Train capacity is key as it determines how many units you can put in that level, so if your units are all big, they can take up several spaces. You won't be able to squeeze too many onto one train car. We've all been there in rush hour. Get through 9 fights and you get to the end of the track and you win. This is a really fun game I've played a fair bit, more than I would normally play a regular PC game. You have all the factions to pick, then you have different combinations of allied factions to pair up, then each faction has 2 champions, and each champion has a few different routes you can take with their abilities. I'm about maxed out on my capability to progress any further in this game, but there is an expansion I haven't picked up yet, so there's still more playing it left for me. Rated 86 on Metacritic, with IGN saying, do you like Slay the Spire? If so, you should absolutely try Monster Train's more tactical spin on a deck building roguelike. Yep, that's how I see it. So that's my list. Which of these games would you try? Do you know any video games that use board game mechanisms that I missed? Which of these would you like to see as a real thing? Let me know in the comments below. Also, Griftlands isn't for me before you ask. Be sure to give the video a thumb up, and if you enjoyed it, remember to like, share and subscribe and click the bell so you get notified when a new video goes live. You can follow me on Twitter, Insta, Twitch and YouTube at JestaThaRogue and find the blog at JestaThaRogue.com. I've been Rob aka JestaThaRogue and I'll see you soon.